Well, hello everyone. Like you talk about right here, for text auditor, and basically that this right here will be like free. It's like if we want to call it, like, free services, assistance for working our taxes. And basically, what you see right here is I will have put together right here are these two document examples right here. And thinking about, I'm like, when we work our taxes, I'm sure that we all have seen these before. These same images. This right here is an image that I went ahead and used on like one of my class projects actually that you talk about for like for web design. But you have right here is that with these other examples, I'm sure most of us here have seen. But then whenever we look at our taxes, I'm like whenever per year, whenever we file our taxes, if it's going to be for the year 2015 or maybe by tax day of 2017 or maybe by 2020, something like that, whenever we look at these tax forms. And you're like, Warren, yeah, well, each year whenever you file your taxes, that you may say that you had a 1098-T or the W-2 form, those type of sources of information that they more likely do collect, but some things that maybe that they may do new, per year. And you're like Warren, to where that about almost every American citizen is that they whenever they file their taxes, to where that they may say that yeah, are you a full-time or a part-time resident, the other sources of information they collect, and then of course the marital status, and as well as a few other things too. But talk about right here for tax auditor and thinking about, I'm like, yeah, that I know that according to my understanding, though, that it's basically to where that whenever you buy a tax program, and this is basically it's like say services to where that I have not checked it all out yet, but I'm thinking that yeah, that's basically to where an auditor, to where that somebody that guides you for what you got to do for any sources of information, as well as if you need to talk to somebody for questions about anything, something like that. And for whatever reason, this kind of reminds me of a story from, I'm like, yeah, I may have mentioned before about anybody say that, yeah, they're good to have an imaginary friend, but I'm like, really? Somebody, I'm like, I kept thinking about while I was in school that I'm like, really, taking a test and you're trying to think about what the correct answer is. You're like, well, should I guess or should I just write down what I'm assuming what the answer is? Or, yeah, I remember the question, but I'm trying to remember the answer. Do I think it's a good idea to look at the notes, if I have any notes, and then the teachers will likely say, hey, that's cheating. But on the other hand, that you have right here is like, for information related to taxes, though, that for like tax auditor, to where that I'm sure that anybody who files their taxes, if it's going to be a man or a woman, like, for that, for any services that they say for free assistance, to where per year that whenever you file your taxes, that it's basically to where like that they mention about auditors, and for audits that it's basically that yeah, that somebody there in person, to where somebody that you want to talk to for just to talk about concern about something. And I have not used the service all complete, but you have right here is like these examples right here of my student picture you got right here is the baby picture, and I'm like, yeah, I was thinking about this whenever I was putting this together, to where I'm like, yeah, we all have basically seen about these same images right here. But if we can all remember that I have used these for other activities as well, and besides the taxes, is that if it's bills or anything like that. But let's just say that that since we were young, that we may have been paying our taxes and thinking about, I'm like, yeah, that 10 years later that you may have wanted something a little bit better to file your taxes with, such as that every weekend that you will want to get an allowance or something like that. And basically that when we file our taxes, to where that as soon as we get a job, that we may think that, yeah, now we're able to make a little bit more money. That some kids that may think that yeah, that they were used to only maybe getting about maybe $13 a week or so in allowance, or maybe 10 or $5 or so back in those days, and thinking about whenever they get a job, and then possible that they'll be making a little bit more money. And you're like thinking about, if we were to actually do the math right here, that I didn't have a whole lot of room to explain all that stuff about subtraction and addition and mathematical long division type problems. But you have right here is like with the math count. And thinking about, I'm like, yeah, that back whenever we were young, that we didn't more likely know what $100 was, or maybe 200, or nowadays with the tax forms that they talk about, any citizens who make between 200,000 or maybe three, who are current students, that about the amount of money that's made, and then for the 40% or so that's counted. And thinking about, I'm like, yeah, that I guess the number of questions are more like come, but then on your hand too, it seems like per year, to where it seems like, to where if we were to be looking it up, to where that, Mike, really, I'm like, do you think that you could be paying a little bit more, to where, just to prepare your taxes as well as work the taxes? And you're like, Warren, to where that really, does that seem fair to a lot of us, to where that every year that basically means to where we had to spend more, just to get something done? And then you're thinking about, ever since I was a baby, that thinking about, I'm like, yeah, I have not always been responsible for following the taxes either, for taking care of the taxes. But let's just say that on average, to where that really that best opportunity just to get it done is to where you're gonna go out and you're gonna get a job, or earn any type of source of income. And thinking about, I'm like, really, that really, you're gonna be, if you're that gonna be in that situation to where you don't follow them, and then you ask somebody else to do it or something, and more likely that they may charge you a little bit more, or giving you the opportunity to where you can sit down in front of your desktop computer somewhere and thinking that yeah, I can go ahead and try to manage it this time, independently, and read the forms, and then see, do the calculations. Because a lot of times we may wonder to where, back when I was a kid, you used to a lot of times wonder to where that having your experience to be able to pay the bills, and especially if it's mortgage payments or if it's car payments or anything like that, you're like, Warren, to where, yeah, can you build your experience ever since you were a kid, that you may have had 25 years of experience, to where, hey, I know how to do this, or hey, I know how to do that. Yeah, I know what 5 and 5 is equal to, or something like that. So this seems like a lot of math, and I'm sure that anybody where I could say is to where that really, I'm like, it's almost like a job between the month of January of the year to like October or something like that, to about mid-spring or summer, that this is like a job, to where every day, like maybe about an hour or two a day, that you're basically having to keep everybody updated about how much money that's coming in and out. Have you started a job? Have you collected retirement? And are you a student? Are you a homeowner, business person? Do you own any farm machinery or equipment or something like that? So thinking about, I'm like, for a tax auditors, to where that a lot of these services, which I know that they say that it's basically a person, to where not really like we say matching your friend, but let's just say that with I guess anybody probably say anything that's imaginable. It seems like possibly possible, because whenever back in those days, to where we're like thinking about, yeah, in your dreams, it's not going to happen. You think that more likely that they're going to have it, to where that for anybody who would have access to this on their personal computers, that they want somebody to talk to while they're working on their math homework. They want somebody to help them with something, or study hall hours. I'm like, anybody say that, yeah, you like to have a quarter of the day, to where, especially on the weekend, to where you want to have a study hall type hour. But then on the computer, you don't want to have to get up and go to school or nothing. You maybe want to get on to like a laptop or a desktop, and then you work a few minutes on something, and somebody to talk to you about, hey, that I'm stuck on something, or I'm trying to figure out something. So like for tax art, to where that you by say that, yeah, well, if it's fair enough, to where if you pay like a membership, if it's going to be like a premium or something like that of the tax program, to where it comes with a package, to where a number of things that you say that you may not be qualified for unlimited everything, but then there may be about maybe 5 or 10 or so that's allowed. So you're like, Warren, to where all these rules about, it's like that you buy, like, and just to get the taxes. But on your hand, the way I think about it, though, it seems like you're always going to learn something either way. But one of those lessons was like thinking about, I'm like, really, that the type of job that more likely it's like, yep, learn by our experience, is like if you've been working on it for about 10 years or so. But anyway, up the top out here for tax auditor, thanks for watching.